Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I am grateful you are devoting this time to listening to our experience and insights on such a challenging topic, managing fully remote teams in times of crisis. My name is Vera Babat, and I'm Chief People Officer at Abstracta. Very quickly, just let me tell you, those who don't know us, what we do. Abstracta is a software testing company with over 100 people, with offices in Latin America and Silicon Valley. I am a clinical psychologist, and as Chief People Officer, my main concern is to promote a culture of overall well-being, personal and professional growth. With this video, we want to contribute by sharing not only our resources and ideas on what you can do to manage fully remote teams, but above all, we hope you find some tools to reflect upon the added complexity of doing so in times of crisis like the one we are facing. So the much-needed restrictions to slow the spread of COVID-19 have had a direct impact on people's lives and on companies, moving our work and daily operations from our offices to our homes. Managing these 100% remote teams is challenging beyond the technical and organizational aspects of it. I'm not going to go there, as this has been covered extensively by many colleagues in these past few days. Through this talk, we wish to go through some of the lesser discussed aspects of this context that we believe should not be overlooked. We'll analyze them and we'll share with you our experience tackling them at Abstracta. So I'd like to take a minute to explain, if you're still hesitant about it, why I believe that what we are going through with the outbreak of coronavirus needs to be called a crisis. I do not need to go into the cases of the unfortunate stories coronavirus has left. I do not even need to go through the numbers to highlight the global economic impact the measures needed to deal with it are having and will have. You have probably heard it all and read about all of those. I even know many of you started to feel a bit overwhelmed by it. And precisely, that is what a crisis does. When you have so much on your plate, when you have so many situations at once that you feel overwhelmed, well, there you have a crisis in front of you. Acknowledging it is deeply important, so we can treat it as such. Understanding different angles of it separately and then leaving some time to understand the complexity of all those interactions is vital. Otherwise, crises are hard to tackle. Feeling overwhelmed leaves us at risk of feeling lost, not knowing which way to go. Crises shake us. Crises heat us and make it difficult for us to react, to adapt. At Abstracta, we respond to this, always reminding ourselves that crises are turning points. Accepting them, that there are moments when our bases are shaken, and yes, going through them is going to be hard, very hard, is very important. But tough as these moments may be, chaotic as these situations may be, when we take this attitude, it enables us to learn a lot and we come out of them stronger. This attitude is underlying all the initiatives you will hear about in this presentation. We do not have definite answers, but we wish to share some of the things we've learned, hoping it helps you and your organizations. Sharing this moves us as it resonates profoundly with our purpose, so thanks again for joining us. This intended to be a live webinar to have a Q&A section, but due to logistic reasons such as young kids in the house, we went for a recorded version. If you have any doubts, comments, or feedback, do contact me and we can continue the conversation on the channels that you see. So, the spread of COVID-19 is the most serious global health security threat in decades. This means our health is at stake. But is it such a big deal? The answer is yes. We must bear in mind that health is a state of physical, mental, and social well-being. Our health is the foundation to living a full life. So this implies many things. From our actual physical health point of view, the situation is reminding many how fundamental our physical health is. We will all die someday. And though this may seem like an obvious fact, really listening to it and truly acknowledging it, coming to terms with the fact that we will all die someday is huge. It is existential. Although it is true that some people deeply appreciate life, connect to it, to its cycles, and all of its wonders, I dare say that it is far from the norm. Our society is obsessed with denying our finitude. We deny our vulnerability to ridiculous levels. Coming to terms with the fact that life will end hurts us to the point of pretending it does not exist. But denying is not the way. We make our lives poorer rather than protect them this way. We need to tolerate it. Humans have always questioned their existence. We are the only living creature that does it, and so much good has come from it, from appreciating our existence rather than taking it for granted. This pandemic has made it impossible for us not to remember how heavily we depend on our physical health and the importance of healthcare and carers. But as we always say, mental health is health. And let's face it, these stressful times put a lot of strain on people's coping mechanism. This is why in times like this, we need to pay special attention to all the initiatives that promote mental health. We can do many things to promote cultures where people can feel more authentic, feel more integrated, more connected. No person is an island, and how they feel is dynamic, and it will change as our realities change. This brings so many challenges to those managing teams right now. Our team's mental health will evolve depending on how they and their loved ones sail through this time of emergency. So empathy and the power of connection cannot be understated. Community. Deep down, we know that this crisis, like all crises, require collective efforts. Yet, this one is different in a very practical sense. Social distancing is the way to show solidarity and prevent the rapid spread of the virus, flattening the curve to prevent the collapse of the health system. We understand that, don't we? But social distancing seems counterintuitive to all we know on how to nurture a close-knit community. Human beings, we are inherently social beings. We are wired for connection, but connection is different from connectivity. What is more, extreme connectivity many times has proved to interfere with human connection. So for those of you who are social distancing, be kind to those surrounding you. Also, let's remember that many are going through this measure living by themselves. But as measures of quarantine become more extreme, we need to go the extra mile in our efforts to use connectivity to feel closer, to alleviate the feeling of isolation. We can do this at work as well as with our friends. Being all day home surrounded by the same people puts too much strain on our relationships. Quantity and quality. Having tasks with others, things to do, keeping our minds busy with things that are interesting, things that give us a sense of accomplishment is important. It keeps us positive. A varied, rich, and nurturing digital community and a sense of belonging in times like this can actually change lives. The third point in which this crisis attacks all of us is our lifestyle. Our jobs do not define who we are, but yet our jobs and our possibility or impossibility of doing them remotely are to a large extent defining the implications this crisis has on our employment opportunities right now, even their continuity. And having that to sustain your lifestyle is major. Adapting to remote work seems terribly relevant in today's context, and for this situation, and very likely for future ones. So working on communication tools and organizational skills to improve your remote work abilities is very important if you want to make this possible. But we should not pretend that this can go on as suggested by many who have been doing it for quite some time. At least, we should not take it for granted. While keeping our jobs going, if we're lucky to have them, and providing quality products and services to our clients is as important as ever, we need to acknowledge that many situations may be happening on the other side of the screen to both our collaborators and to us that might be urgent, diverting our focus somewhere else. What this means can be so varied. Kids at home without schools, loved ones requiring extra care, concerns about medicines and food supply, struggling with feelings of anxiety, just to name a few. To make it more complex, many times these are at the same time. So the challenges we face are big. The good news is that we can accomplish this. We can come out even stronger. So under these conditions, teamwork becomes more relevant than ever, as well as more challenging than ever. Nurturing a sense of belonging, mutual care, and trust is a key factor to success and sustainability of teams. So I want to tell you about concrete actions we have taken and are taking. I need to give a little bit of context on how we work, and that because I believe that the area where I lead, people care, has had a major role in this. I want to tell you firsthand about this because I believe that this way of working has allowed us to react so promptly to the situation. As I mentioned, we provide software testing services. So testers, whatever their area of expertise, join teams in other companies. As they do that, they are mentored and offered support by a tech lead and a network of other areas. We invest a lot of time so each member feels a part of Abstracta. Belonging is considered by many something of the past, but the feeling of being part of something that transcends us, of being part of a community where we are appreciated and accepted is so important as humans. It makes us feel that we're serving our personal life purpose. So whatever that might be for each person. The area I lead is called People Care, and we play an important role in this network as we psychologists are constantly mentoring and guiding our tech leads and other members of the support system in ways to make people feel connected and committed to one another. So if this is ongoing, why is it especially relevant nowadays, you may ask? Well, because these things that I say that we do are easier said than done. Actually achieving them requires very transformative processes. They take time, they are based on trust, and it is something that will depend on each person, and especially because it changes based on our experiences. It is completely dynamic, so it requires that we constantly revise our attitudes and that we keep polishing and nurturing our relationships, thus ongoing processes. Accepting vulnerability, truly embracing it, it's hard, but it is so worth the effort. None of us are going to remember the measures taken. What we are going to remember is how we felt during these times of extreme measures. Did I feel reassured, or did I feel our well-being was being considered? Were our concerns heard? All that will matter in the long run. Promoting psychological safety, environments where we can say what we feel is an ongoing challenge, but in this context is of utmost importance. So how are we doing it when the teams are dispersed? That word is difficult for me, sorry. So knitting networks. We hope to become part of our collaborators' support network. We offer a wide range of socializing instances for this. Through our work, although it might eventually be remote, we often hold face-to-face events. But in this context, our efforts all go to generating virtual ones. They need to be as varied as they can be to cater for all tastes and needs. Even doing this, we need to understand that no matter what we propose, these ideas can work or not work. Even if in regular context they'd be a smashing hit, in this context they might flunk. All this holds true one way or the other. Timing and what is happening that day is vital. My tip? Check on people's needs first so that you put focus on and efforts only on what people are appreciating the most at that time. Many feel the extra time on their hands is an opportunity to learn new skills. For them, providing different options, even guiding them through the options so they are truly relevant can be very helpful to make the most out of their time. But in our team, many have pointed out, for example, that they feel it is a great time to catch up with previous online courses and to have new classes, training sessions, webinars, and such via video calls. But video calls can be used for many other types of purposes. We continue having language classes online as well as leadership skills workshops. We have actually had more of those as we're making updates and follow-ups as the situation unravels. We also added new initiatives, such as keeping a video call channel open at all times to meet for those water cooler chit-chats, or to get together at lunchtime for those who care to share some sobremesa talk We call it fika, which is basically getting together, sharing something nice, and talking about something that we feel like. But more ideas have been proposed by different members of the team, and we are trying them out. People getting together based on their interests and sharing things that are fun and relevant to them, like recipes, gym workouts, LAN parties, even holding after office to catch up. Now, sharing pics on different media is great for some. Memes can be fun for some. Anyone who has a WhatsApp group knows something, though. The difficulty behind this lies that when something can be fun for some, it becomes distracting and more even offensive for others. So the key here is tolerance, and lots of patience are going to be needed in times like this. Monitoring our emotions, how these things make us feel, and discussing them with the ones involved will help us our coexistence and make it more successful. Under this context, giving our tech leaders more tools on how to connect and promote daring leadership has proven important for them to feel better prepared. It is vital to compensate for geographical distance, but also to understand each person's context. How this situation affects each of us depends on multiple factors, and it would require lots of time to catch up on each person, as we run the risk of tech leaders not being able to do it in time. So what we did was to help us keep a record of each individual situation and to help us share this within the people care team. What we designed was an online survey to understand how each person and their loved ones are facing this context. We can share it with you. Of course, you just send us a message and we can send it to you. It has some obligatory questions to map priorities and needs, and others that are optional, such as for people to give more context and expand as much as they feel like. It is a starting point, and this has proven very useful at this stage. But most likely we're going to keep sending new versions of it. But this is not about the data. This is not even about the tool and how we do it. What is important is that we go the extra mile to understand what is going on the other side of the screen. What is important here, and it is what I want you to talk about, is what we do with this data. How much of this can we do follow up on? How candid can we be? How supportive can we be? Above all, if you find ways of working together where we manage the teams considering people's priorities and circumstances and generating collaboration, adapting to these. Reading how diverse each person's context is an enriching exercise of empathy. For us psychotherapists, this is fascinating, but I have to understand that for many this is not so. The faster we come to terms with how relevant it is to understand each person's context and working together to bridge gaps, the stronger our team will become and the faster it will find a new balance in this situation. For example, in my team we always have a daily meeting at midday. It works perfectly well. But now that we're all home, collaborators with little ones and with families might find it much more challenging at midday. Allowing these personal life conversations is so important. Only by knowing what those new situations are that can add stress to people, I can take action as a leader. Actions can be super simple, but something as simple as changing the time of a meeting can have many positive effects on reducing unnecessary levels of stress right now. Now, let's remember we are managing teams that are working on projects. So for each team, daily team meetings become super important. Video calls are extremely relevant as they allow us to see people and observe and listen to some paraverbal cues such as voice, rhythm of speech, looks, surroundings. These meetings should not become a burden and avoid them. These meetings are a must each day. Finding the right balance between meeting productivity and leaving some time to connect is key. Lots of trial error here. Spoiler alert. You're going to try, you're going to fail, you're going to need to try again and insist on this. But how fast you achieve fluent communication will depend on you and your team members' social skills. But this should not be optional. This is not optional. I suggest that the daily checkup on how we're doing is done here rather on one-on-ones. This way, leaders are not overburdened with information and they can be supported as well. Also, as information flows, you will see that people's support will flow as well. When someone offers support to one another, when they do it based on affinity, on similar situations, it is organic. It happens naturally. And this is great. We really need to generate this because it has a long-lasting impact. But the reason why this is positive, if it happens to the rest of the team, is also because our tech leads are part of the communication with the people care team area. So during their follow-ups, our mental health professionals can provide guidance based on their professional knowledge and experience and even participate actively in future meetings. So, mental health is deeply connected to striking a sense of balance. And let's understand that balance is not necessarily the position of halfway all the time. We all go back and forth between positions, especially in times of crisis. So again, patience and tolerance is crucial. Now, what is this balance that we're searching? As we discussed, we need to understand that depending on many aspects, we are all under many stressing factors right now, and this will make us shift between optimism and pessimism. Well, to foment a cautious, caring, and healthy team outlook based on reality, we need to understand them both, to put each of them into perspective, trying to help us and our teams and those who surround us take healthy ranges and not overdo any of these. So let's go through optimism. While healthy levels of optimism are always welcome and oh so necessary, under stressful times, people can overdo it as a coping mechanism. In a context like the one we are experiencing, focusing on the future is certainly useful. Keeping projects going is very necessary because this is temporary. This shall pass too. It is true. But we need to acknowledge that much can happen during this time. This is not a minor situation for many. Denying it, we run the risk of desensitizing ourselves from what is going on, of detaching ourselves from the rest, losing touch, failing to connect on a profound level. And this will take us closer to mechanisms that can even leave us feeling lonely and isolated. So pessimism has a very bad press. But optimism's counterpart is fundamental to keeping us grounded and even safe. Again, healthy levels of these are extremely important. For example, why else would we put up with all the undesired consequences of social distancing and self-quarantine? It is because we have learned what happened in other places, because we fear the consequences. But when we put so much focus on what is threatening us, we put ourselves in a risky situation. Reading the news nonstop, getting information from non-official sources can leave us feeling too much at risk. This threat is a difficult one, especially for those with a tendency to obsessive-compulsive behaviors, for example, because this is a microscopic virus and it can be anywhere, or even worse, others can have it even when they show no symptoms. As if this wasn't enough, our lifestyles feel threatened. Many fear for their loved ones, for their own health, for their jobs. So I find that this combination is extremely likely to bring much suffering. Mental health is at risk for so many under these conditions. Another risk to mental health is burnout. We are facing measures that might be longer than 2 weeks. In the Southern Hemisphere, fall hasn't even started. Keeping our sanity is equally important. When we talk about health, you will always hear that prevention is better than cure. I wish we can spread this message as much as we can. We can all promote healthy coping mechanisms to deal with the situation and come out stronger and wiser out of this crisis. Working on our own feelings, understanding them well, is basic to help others. Poor mental health, in a way, is contagious as well. Being exposed to high anxiety levels promote anxiety. Being with depressed people brings us down. The good news is, being with mentally strong people also has a ripple effect. Oh, sorry. I forgot to change the slide, which is beautiful. So what can you do? Reaching out and helping others is very important. Promoting emotional health and well-being is beneficial for them as well as it is for you because it will help you gain perspective. Tough times are learning opportunities. They remind us of the fundamental things in life, and connecting to those, hard as it may be, can even help us connect to feelings of profound gratitude. So don't forget, work on your remote teams until you hit that sweet spot between structure and flexibility that you need to thrive. Focus on connection. Learn about them and then let curiosity guide you. Help if you can. If you can, just listen. It helps as well because it lessens the burden. To be part of people's support network, nurture yours. If you're not good in a good spot, you cannot help others. Listen. Learn about what is important to others and offer perspective, if you can. If not, again, listen. Adding these variables and taking them into account will allow all of us to have a positive impact on the emotional lives of our collaborators, of our friends, of our family members, and to be able to live strengthened and continue advancing together even in this chaos. Together, we can offset the impact of the virus in our personal and professional lives and come out stronger because of it. Thank you so much for all of your attention. Feel free to share this video, and I would love to hear from you.